Hello and welcome to Sam Interviews Series 2, Episode 3 with Levy, who is a comedian. As always, please remember to follow the guest on social media. All the social medias are linked down below. I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to Sam Interviews. I am going to start with some questions that I always ask everyone. The pretty simple questions, pretty nice questions to get started with. What's your favorite TV show?
Ooh, Criminal Minds.
Okay, I haven't watched it, but I've been told it's good.
It up to, I mean, it's no spoilers, but up to like, I want to say 12th season. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
okay.
But then it kind of, but again, you're already like, I'm already in love with it. So I'd rewatch the 12 seasons for 100 times. Um, but yeah, very good TV show. I definitely recommend it.
So, um, someone else answered that as their favorite TV show, and I've promised them that I would watch it, and I haven't yet. So I definitely will now.
Try it. It's on Disney Plus. So,
Okay.
yeah, again, like especially the first I want to say the first four or five are incredible, and then you kind of get attached to the characters, and that's what makes it still enjoyable. But it's just I love I love like this kind of like criminal psychology.
Yeah.
So I think this is the reason why it's very entertaining, and it's I don't know, it's just incredible to know that it's inspired. Some of them it's inspired by actual real people, and
I didn't know
yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
did.
Because they always have like even like Jeffrey Dahmer before he was a Netflix thing. Again, it wasn't him in the TV show, but they would refer to Jeffrey Dahmer when they would basically investigate some things. They would refer to like the Unabomber. They would refer to even like Jack the Ripper. It's yeah, because everything it's so BAU. It's a real thing. It's a the actual guy who invented the one who created BAU helped out with the writing of Mindhunter and Criminal Minds. So if you watch Criminal Minds, Jason Gideon, it's actually the young detective guy from Mindhunter, and they are
Okay.
based on the exact same real person.
I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, cool.
Um, that's what I'm gonna do for the rest of the day. After this podcast is over, I'm gonna go watch it.
Absolutely. Let me know what you think. 'Cause I got some more trivia, but you need to watch it first before I tell
Okay.
you, yeah, some things.
What is your favorite movie?
Oof, I don't know. That's hard. Uh, I can't even remember what my favorite, like, I just, I'll say, God, it's hard to answer, but I'll say I have a tradition, anything with Robin Williams in, or most things with Robin Williams in, because I love him very much. So I love those movies. Uh, I want to say favorite British movie is probably The Gentleman by
Okay.
Guy Ritchie. Uh, I don't know. It's hard because like I have, for example, like Judd Apatow is my favorite comedy director. You know, I I like I know the Dark Knight. I think it's incredible. The Godfather. I used to love maybe Scarface. I want to say, but again, that's not necessarily because of how good it is, but because of how many times. Or no, actually, Rocky.
Okay.
It's such a bad again. It's a very cheesy movie, but it's not about the quality of it. It's how it makes me feel. So definitely Rocky is my favorite. The trilogy, the Rocky trilogy is my favorite.
I respect that so much. Um, good choices to be fair. All of them are really, really good movies. I
completely get what you mean about the emotions compared to how good a film is. Like, I don't judge a film on how good the acting was or how good the writing was. I judge on how it makes me feel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, again, it still, I think there are people who have to judge it on that again, for awards, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like on a personal level, it can be the worst, like the cheesiest, or it can be just a bad plot. Anyway, it just can be very bad movie. But if you watch it and it makes you feel something. Because I was saying like with Adam Sandler, I know people are very like some people hate him, some people love him. I actually like him. I think Uncut Gems, the one on Netflix,
Yes.
he's been stolen away like awards for that movie for how amazing it was, because it's a movie where like nothing really kind of like happens, but yet you're on your feet like all the whole time. You're like, oh, what's going on, what's happening, oh, I don't know. And then it ends, and again, without spoilers for it, but it's just an amazing movie. So you see, yeah, I agree. It's a lot about how someone makes, or like even the movie itself makes you feel.
But yeah, no, I absolutely love Adam Sandler. I mean, I say that there's some movies I don't like by him, the ones that have not aged very well. But
Yeah.
like, so I'm very happy that you mentioned Adam Sandler because he's definitely someone that like can act but decides not to. He just kind of wants to mess around with his friends, and his movies will make me feel happy. And like he's not a great actor in some of them, but it makes me feel good.
Yeah, no, I think I was reading because I'm a big fan of like Pete Davidson, right? And I remember a few years ago I was looking at an interview, um, and he was talking about like hanging out with Adam Sandler, and I think yeah, it's amazing because like Adam Sandler makes movies with his friends, and obviously because there are different people who use stand up to then progress into something else, or people who use something else to get a reputation to progress into stand up. He's done the first thing, which was, unlike, I don't know, Jerry Seinfeld, for example, which will always be, stand up, love it. He started with stand up, did the SNL, it went really well. Then he went on to a movie career. Now he still does stand up, but I just think him as, and especially, this kind of stuff with, even as a family person, I've not heard bad things about him. He's just playing basketball. Like even I think he's aged really well comparing with other actors of that generation, where some people might go, "Oh, actually, that guy a bit, did this or did that or whatever." But with him, I've again personally not heard anything, and I just think that makes me respect him even more, regardless of how skilled he is. Because again, I mean, most likely a worse actor than he is, so I can't judge him on that. But yeah,
No, I absolutely love him. But like the thing is, he can act, but decides not to, because
yeah,
then, like as you mentioned, like Uncut Gems is genuinely amazing. Like he acted so well in that. Um, Also, there's like so much evidence about him being a good dad and just like a great person.
yeah. It's have you seen
So
even like with his wife? They've been together for such a long time, and I love his special, the one before the joke about his wife. Oh my god, it was so funny. But yeah, no, I agree. He's a lovely person, and you see even like other comedians or like other people who start up in sorry, in the like creative or like acting industry, they always talk incredibly like well about him. Being
yes,
supportive, being just like a nice overall, like a nice person. And have you seen even the last movie where he's the a basketball coach? There's a
yes, yeah.
I cried at the end of that movie. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I just, even though it was again such a kind of cliche story, of like this guy who comes, but it was very. And even though I don't like the real basketballer that played in the movie, I don't really like him. I mean, I don't care for him, but that movie was just beautiful. And I'm a Philly fan because of Rocky, so it was even nicer to yeah.
Honestly, I feel so surprised that someone else has mentioned Adam Sandler in this podcast because normally it's just me being like, yeah, Adam Sandler's really cool, and I get judged. Like, I remember being on a podcast and someone being like, "No, Adam Sandler's not great. He's not a good actor." What? No. So it just feels so like weird to me that someone else has been like, "I love Adam Sandler."
Yeah, there are. Don't worry. It's not just you're not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite book?
A favorite book. Oh, favorite books. Well, I love Mark Maron.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, I love his books very much. WTF, it's okay because it's interviews, but his actual like Make Happy, and I forgot the first one. They are incredible. Jude Apatow's, the Sick in the Head and Sicker in the Head.
Yeah.
I think 1984. When I was a kid or like when I was an adolescent, that was my favorite book. Just because it was so bizarre, and Sherlock Holmes as well. I was a big Sherlock Holmes fan, and I don't have a lot of them here anymore because I used to read them when I was a kid. Like I
Yeah.
was a kid when I was back in Romania, and I loved. Okay, let's say that as well. History books. I love mostly Greek mythology, which is not history, but anyway, Greek mythology, and also anything to do with First World War and after. I
Yeah.
really loved those when I was a kid. Yeah.
1984 is a really, really good book. Really good book.
I think, yeah, George Orwell, he was a bit of a nutter, to be fair, but what an artist. Yeah, it's just bizarre. I just remember reading it, and I remember reading it in Romanian, and I was like, "What is this?" And then I read it in English, and to be fair, in English is much better. I think the translation didn't go very well in Romanian.
Uh-huh.
Even though some books, like I think Sherlock Holmes, for example, is much better in Romanian rather than English because I don't like. I mean, no, I don't like. I'm not. I'm feeling weird with the kind of language that, like, the old English or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Um, for Sherlock Holmes because it was just bizarre. I think for a kids or like adolescents or whatever book, that's a bit outdated, in my opinion. But yeah, no, 1984 was actually one of those books where I read it in Romanian growing up. And I was like, "Ooh, it's hard to understand this, but it's interesting." And then I
Yeah.
remember reading it in English, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is incredible."
It's a very good book. But it kind of it's terrifying in a way.
Yes, yes, it is.
But definitely a good book. When I first started out doing like stand-up comedy and this podcast and stuff, I had my ideas on being like other comedians. So, for example, one of my favorite comedians is Jack Whitehall, and he made it big. Like, I don't know if it was like just after college or after uni, like when he was still quite young. Um, and I was like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna try like so hard and I'm gonna get to that point. And then I watched other stuff with him where he's talking more about his life. And it was like he had struggled desperate like so much to try and be where he is. And his dad literally had to save his career. Like it wasn't as easy as he made it out to be in this one thing.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting because my opinion on Jack Whitehall is not a good one, but fair enough. Yeah, it's good actually because I'm curious. I'll probably do some research on that because the way I see Jack Whitehall is very. I don't like him.
I mean,
Sorry,
fair enough.
I'm not
Fair
judging
enough.
nothing, obviously, but I didn't know that side. I'll be honest with you. I had no idea. Yeah, about that. I think. Yeah, I didn't mind him, and then I watched with one of my friends. I watched that episode, like that Netflix show where he goes on holidays with his dad,
Yeah.
and I'll be honest, some things that his dad said shouldn't be on TV,
No, I agree.
and it kind of because I think he got to this point where I don't know. It was just weird because it was like, oh well, if Jack Whitehall's dad says it, then it's okay. Well, no, it's still wrong.
Yeah.
And he should be, because I think he was like all those like stereotypes. I still remember the one with like going into a bar in Thailand and stuff like that. I'm not gonna say what, but I was just like, no, this is, you're just playing onto like one of the oldest stereotypes ever, and then you're normalizing it because this is the problem. Where I think I was saying, coming back to Jimmy Carr, he's
Yeah.
got an amazing joke. I mean, many very incredible jokes. But I was saying that, if you do like one of his like, say, sexist jokes in a comedy club, being Jimmy Carr, it's fine because it's the right space. Is again, as long as it's a good joke, because he's not, again, as long as it's a well written joke, it's funny. But the problem is that too many people take jokes from their favorite Netflix specials and then they just throw it on the street at like random people or even like friends and family, but incredibly wrong timing and wrong place. And that's where the problem comes. Because if you quote like, look, I love Bill Burr. I think he's an incredible comedian. But if people start quoting Bill Burr outside of like, again on the street, oh yeah, like what do you think about this? And no, that's it's not the right place, not the right time, and that's the thing. People then that's where people take you seriously, and sometimes, sadly, people will be, oh well, if that person said it, they're not a comedian, or like then whatever. Sometimes, yeah, this is wrong. Sometimes I feel people forget that you can joke about, again, do stand-up comedy, but it has to be in the right place with the right people. You can't just you can't just go like preach on the street, basically. So that's why it reminded me of, okay, I'll do some research though. I promise. I'll check out the whole story about Jack Whitehall because that's why I kind of got to the point where I was like, nah. And now,
Fair.
okay, it's interesting. And it's okay. Very, I will do my research. I promise.
But I don't know if it's because I've always kind of liked Bad Education, so I kind of just I don't know if I like Bad Education or Jack Whitehall.
Well, you see, this is the thing because Bad Education is actually, again, I watched Bad Education after I made my mind about Jack Whitehall. So when I watched Bad Education, I was like, nah, I can't stand this because this is exactly the impersonation of what I feel like Jack Whitehall is.
Yeah. Um, there is a book I am going to tell you to read though. I tell everyone on this podcast to read. I think this podcast is becoming one big like advertisement for this book. And that is Rob Beckett. Um, it was such a powerful, powerful book.
Rod Beckett.
Yeah, it's called A Class
Let me.
Act.
It sounds incredibly. Oh yeah, okay, okay. I've not read it. I've not read it, but I know. I know. Okay, fine. I got it. Cool. Oh my God, that's actually really interesting. Life as a working class man in a middle class world.
It's about like his like when he was growing up compared to like how his kids are growing up and like his how he really, really, really struggled to get where he is now and how much he had to do to get where he is now and how much he had to work. And it's very powerful.
Oh, okay. I will. I like him. I do like Rob Beckett, so I will try this out.
Yeah, I recommend it to everyone that comes on the podcast. I'm like, it's a good book. Everyone should read it at some point. But yeah, no, it's a really, really powerful book. It got me to reading. I hated reading before I read it. I absolutely, absolutely love it now.
Oh,
Moving on from books, what is your favorite genre of music?
oof. Yeah, I have loads of music favorites. I think I'll just say so. Kid Cudi is my favorite
Okay.
artist. Or let's say top five. It's Kid Cudi, um, Dave Grohl, Jack White. So maybe probably like it sounds like mostly rock, but yeah, it's Kid Cudi, big role, Jack White, and then it's a band called Gang of Youths. I've seen them twice this year. Absolutely love them,
Yeah.
adore them. And then I like. I think that's it. That's my top four. At least that's the four things I can. Or I love flute, for example, or I like electric music as well. So I don't have a genre. Like I don't just listen to a thing. But I probably I'd say this though. I'm the kind of person who likes older music because that's what I was saying. Like Johnny Cash, love the guy. You know, um, I like Zach Bryan. I don't know if you like Americana. I like Americana as well. Like I know people are not very much into country and Americana, especially in the UK, but I do like that very much.
Yeah.
And I do like pop as well. I'll be honest. Like The Weeknd. Oh, love. Yeah. Katy Perry. Absolutely.
Speaking of like Johnny Cash and stuff, there is someone that I am a big fan of, who's in a similar sort of genre to Johnny Cash, but he's also like a YouTuber, but like his music's good. Like he does his music on the side, and it's really, really good. And he's called James and the Shame. His music is about how he used to believe in God and like used to be very, very religious, and it's about how he's stopped believing and like how his life is now compared. And it's really, really interesting. It's quite beautiful.
I will give it a try because I used to be also very religious and not anymore. But no, yeah, I'll check it out because I like this. It sounds interesting.
It's one of my favorite like bands. Like I genuinely love his music so much because it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, like beautifully written. It's like I love it. I love it so much.
I'll check it out. I've got it on, again. I got it on my Mac now, written down, and the
Okay.
Rob Peckett book as well.
Okay. Let me know what you think about both of them.
Absolutely.
Do you have any hobbies except from stand-up?
I'd say isn't I think the work that I put on stand up, I would say it's definitely more than a hobby, which sadly takes me away from my other hobbies. I used to do bouldering. Again, before I moved to London, cooking was for sure something that I absolutely love to do, and I like to watch American sports. Besides, I mean, football and basketball. Um, I like to watch live sports in general as well, and I go to like concerts, so incredibly basic, I guess, but I love live music. I love festivals as well. I don't never been. I mean, all the festivals. I when I talk festivals, I say like electric music because I feel like
Yeah.
again, I've never been to like an indie festival or something like that. Those would be my hobbies, but again, at the moment, because of the new relocation to London and my living situation at the moment is not ideal. So hopefully in the next year I will actually get something to get back into my sorry old habits and passions. But no, yeah, because I'm a very good chef, so I miss cooking. And yeah, that was it. Bouldering as well. I love it. I love it so much as a sport. It's incredible.
Fair enough. I'm actually quite surprised because normally when I ask like comedians that question, they're like, "Nope, I've got nothing in my life except from stand-up." Because stand-up is so like life consuming. It like can be the only thing that people do because it's so consuming.
Well, yeah, this is the thing. At the moment, you have to stop. Or like I don't do it as much as I used to before I start or before I focus on stand up. However, I realized through this year as well that sometimes as much as you love it, or as much anything that you love, anything that if you overdo something, the burnout, it's incredibly like the risk of burnout is incredibly high. So this is the reason. Like for example, now I only did like maybe 3 gigs in the last week, and that's a very little amount for like what I usually do because I usually do about 5, 6 a week. No, I want to say 3 gigs in the last 10 days to be more
Okay.
honest and more realistic. So it's a very little amount, but I had a cold, I even when my cold, even now it's relapsed, but even when it went off the first time, I was just very tired, like recovering. So you got to take that time. So this is the time where I would, focus on my hobbies.
These next two questions I've been asked to remove, so I want to know your opinion on them.
Hmm.
So the first one is, what is your favorite question that you have ever asked someone or have ever been asked?
Oof. Hey, how much do you make? No, I'm joking. How much do you pay for rent? No, I don't know. It's oh God. I want to be very cheesy. I think is when people go, "Oh, are you really a comedian?"
Fair
I
enough.
think that for I because it's I don't know. It just gives me that reminder of yeah, I am. Because well, besides that, I don't know because it's. I want to say something like, "Oh, what is happiness? Are you actually happy?" But it's never happened. No, probably this. I've never been asked something and went like, "Oh," or I've never asked something and went like, "Oh my God, this is wild." Yeah.
Fair enough. The reason that I've been asked to remove that question was because it's like a difficult question to answer. I had someone on the podcast be like, I can't answer this. It's too difficult to answer. How about you answer it? And I was like, yeah, okay, fair enough. I see why you can't answer it.
Okay, what was
Um,
yours?
oh gosh. Um, I remember how I answered it now. So I met James Acaster recently, who is a great,
What?
great comedian. And um this needs so much explaining. But I'll give you the question first and then I'll explain it afterwards. He held up his phone and went, "Is this you?" That is the best question I've ever been asked because James Acaster knew who I was.
No way. This is sick.
There's a comedian called Jack Barry. Love him so much. Like he's so funny. Um, and he worked with James on a TV show, like a YouTube short TV show type thing.
Mm.
And I did a thing, like I did a like a dress up thing for as one of the characters. And as James Acaster isn't on social media, Jack Barry sent it to James. And then when I met James like a month later, he held up the photo of me dressed up like one of the characters from the TV show that they did, saying, "Is this you?" Because no
That
one
is
really
sick.
talked about the TV show before it. So I guess
Nice.
that's the answer.
That's mad. But where were you? Like, where were the two of you?
Um, I can't remember which gig it was, but it was like at a stage door. It's somewhere in London.
Oh, no
Um,
way. Okay, well, if
he
you
was doing
come
like a charity
to,
gig or something.
oh, I think I know actually, because I think one of my friends was there. I think I've seen some of the advertising for it. But if whenever you come back, like come south, give us a shout. I'll come and like watch you, or I'll send you some gig names to try out. But no, that's cool. Yeah, no, I rate that. Oh, actually, okay. Look, funnily enough, I'll tell you a story about. It's not a question, but
Okay.
I used to work with very famous people for a while because I used to be like a butler. I used to be a personal assistant where I came in this country, and I remember going in the lift with because obviously everything was like private. You didn't know the name of the actual guest, etc. Nickelback was in the tour, right? And I loved Nickelback as a kid. It was incredible, I think it's say what you will, but to me, they changed my life in a way. And I just remember that we had they basically like glass. I can't name the hotel because I signed a waiver, but there was glass windows right all over. Like the hotel, sorry, the hotel, the lift was made out of glass, and I put a key in the lift to keep the doors open for them to come in. They come in, and then I see him, right? But I don't remember his name. I have no idea what his name is because I always knew them because that's before I came to England. Before I knew anything about artists, I just thought, oh, a band called Nickelback. That's it. And obviously now he had short hair, right? And he had a bit. I don't know if you've seen any picture of him from like his last tour. No, he doesn't have the long hair anymore. Short, kind of wavy. Anyway, and I just look because I just look forward, but obviously because the mirror was there, I
Yeah.
see everything around. So I just look at him and I say, "Are you?" Because I didn't know the name, and he just goes like, "Yeah," and I say, "Oh, I used to love you." But the reason why I said I used to love you is because it was again 6 years ago. My English was terrible, so
Okay.
my manager, who was in the in the lift as well, had to apologize to them, just going like, "I'm really sorry. His English is not very well. He's not very good. Sorry, yeah, his English is not very good. He means that he loved you." Because we were talking about the band. Anyway, yeah, and I thought it was hilarious because I could see on his face where I was like, "Are you?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, I used to love you," and I could see his face just drop. Like I think he was expecting for me to say something bad or whatever, and I just thought it was hilarious. But yeah, no, yeah, that was my "are you" question. I was like, "Are you?"
Fair enough. Yeah.
It was
No,
funny.
that counts. Um, have you read anything interesting recently?
Red or
Well, I say read, but like anything that you've seen, anything that you've heard that's interesting.
mm, well, that answered the question, doesn't it? That I'm thinking. No, I'm joking. Oh God, you know what? I did go through some articles, but for the life of me, I can't remember what they were about. It was this thing which actually made me very angry the other day. No, actually last night. Because it was like this. Some apparently like a family took their Yorkshire Terrier 4-year-old to a vet and asked for the vet to put the dog down just because they couldn't be asked to look after the dog anymore. And
That's annoying.
I was fuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this is why, we are going through what we're going, because you can't do that. Like in one hand, there are people who question, no question, but there are people who saying that, the choice of someone giving birth, um, shouldn't be up to their powers. But then you're like, oh, anything else that's like a living, yeah, put them down. Do it. Yeah, who cares? I can't be asked. I have another job or whatever. Yeah, and apparently it was saying that the reason why they wanted to put the dog down is because the dog was too annoying because he would like break too many shoes and stuff. So basically, they didn't train the dog. Well, no, you spend the money to train the dog because it's doable. You don't just kill. You know what I mean? Like if you're angry at your kids, you don't just go to the
Like,
doctors and be like, can we put this down? It's too annoying. Yeah, I probably wouldn't be here if that was if that was the case. I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna write it down actually. But yeah, no, I've seen it this morning and I was like, this is annoying, and I don't know. I it's like little things. I like the news about like Iran. The football players that did like took the knee before the England match.
yeah.
Even though I don't, this is the World Cup that I didn't pay any attention to. Uh, just because of the uh, infamous. I mean, again, it doesn't feel like that. Like anywhere you go, it's not the same vibe. Anyway, I really like that. I really enjoyed that. I think it was a really powerful statement. But I feel like again, it's not enough. Sadly, it's. I was glad to see that the guy who ran onto the pitch with the like the pride flag, and then like respect Iranian woman on the back, and then
Yeah.
like save Ukraine in the front. I'm glad that he's okay. So I think he's managed to be basically like extradite out of Qatar, so he's not gonna spend time there in jail or being murdered or anything. Uh, Besides of that, oh, something interesting. Uh, just oil.
Yeah.
The people that like through yeah, their biggest sponsor is Texaco.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
basically they are asking for people. I mean, they're asking for people to not um, extract oil anymore, while being funded by the biggest oil extracting company from the United States. I thought that was funny. Um, yeah, because I thought that whole again incredible idea. Again, it's good to be aware, but very poor. Um, how do you call it? Like they a very poor way of putting it into place. Some things didn't make sense to me, but oof, no, I think those were the highlights of my past few days.
Hello, Editing Sam here. I just wanted to add a quick content warning to this part of the podcast. We are going to talk about Louis C.K., who, if you don't know who he is a comedian who has sexually harassed many people. If you don't want to hear about that, I completely understand. Please skip ahead to 41 minutes and 30 seconds.
One of the things that I need to address: Piers Morgan is relevant again. Why? This is yeah. It's. I don't understand how you're being a shit human being, and then every 6 months you kind of like come up with something spicy. And even the thing with Cristiano Ronaldo. Sorry, I don't know. I mean, I'm talking so much about football just because of this like World Cup. It's quite like, but yeah, even Cristiano Ronaldo, I have no, I don't like him. Because of um his sex offending. Well, apparently allegation. Yeah, do you know? Yeah, yeah, because
Oh,
he's like, I mean, look, this is the thing, because obviously, like, people are talking about, obviously, like Prince Andrew, like, giving, like, the royal family giving payoff to someone. And he was like, well, he wasn't charged. Well, yeah, because they paid someone off to not charge him. So it's same with Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo had these, like, allegations. Again, allegations. Some woman went against him on court. He paid her off to be quiet. So obviously, that's why there are like so many football chants where he was like, "Oh, Cristiano Ronaldo is yeah." So and I feel like now is the kind of time where where he was talking about like respect. I was like, okay, but it's the person again. No, again, obviously people can change, right? I mean, that's just life. But you got to take. I mean, you got to take like people. People who are now like okay with Louis C.K. That to me is baffling. Bro, it's because I think I was chatting with actually with someone who's a comedian, and they were saying that oh well, you can't compare Louis C.K. with Bill Cosby.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like this comedian acquaintance of mine, it was they were saying that you can't compare Louis C.K. with Bill Cosby because one raped someone while the other one. And I was like, no, it's still sex. Like regardless to the point of like how much like again it's still on the same bracket, and even there it's still disgusting behavior which is not paid for, because as soon as as soon as the news came out, he flew the states, gigged around like Eastern Europe and middle like uh again he just gigged around like in countries where again people maybe didn't care as much. built up the comedy. Yeah, yeah, because he was like doing comedy tours in Romania and Bulgaria and Hungary. Yeah, and then obviously now he won a Grammy, making jokes about how he got cancer in the first place. He was in London a couple of weeks ago, and someone, or maybe like a month ago, and someone messaged me saying, "Oh, do you want to come down and like watch him and like spend some time with him and stuff?" And I was like, "Absolutely no chance. No, absolutely no chance." Because I think he went to Angel anyway. He went to a comedy venue here, and he did. I think anyway, wherever he went, uh, yeah, and so people like taking pictures with him and like other comedians like adding to this Instagram and stuff. And I was like, bro, you. In my head, I'm like, okay, look, if you're just a comedy fan and you remember Louis C.K. from 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, maybe you don't know about what happened because you don't pay
Mm.
again. You don't pay attention. You're just like, oh, I haven't seen this guy in a while. I wonder what happened to him. Fine, but as a fellow comedian, or like as a fellow man who should again be aware of the things around. Like there are so many lists in the UK with like people who are being blacklisted because, like smaller comedians, like again, only like regional known and everything, right? But then when this guy comes who is notoriously famous around the world, to me, if I were to be a bit of an asshole now, is that all I need to do is before I start being like assaulting people, get really famous, so then I still get a second chance.
It's really, really annoying. It's really
Yeah.
annoying.
Anyway, yeah. Sorry, that took a turn. But no, yeah. Anyway, that was my bit about the news, and yeah.
Hello, Editing Sam back again. I just want to make a quick comment that we have finished talking about the subject.
Yeah, Pierce Morgan, don't like him. Never did. I don't
No,
understand
yeah.
how. It is just funny now because I don't know who's going to interview next. Yeah, I wonder
Um,
who's gonna.
the thing that James Acaster did, and it's a moment that like lives in my head, oh my God, my head rent free. And it's do you know when he's doing Last Leg? I don't know if you've seen it. He's doing Last Leg and I forgot her
I heard.
name.
Yeah.
Lorraine. Yeah, Lorraine. Um,
Okay.
she was asked who her like idol, like who she respects most in the year,
Yeah.
and she said Piers Morgan.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So James Acaster, without even thinking, without even like knowing what's going on, heard his name being responded to that question, and just told Lorraine to basically just fuck off. And
Nice. Good.
yeah. Um, and then like just had like a massive rant about how like Joker from like Joker from Batman and stuff, he can't just do one good thing and then be this hero.
Yeah.
Like you don't see him giving to charity and go, no, fuck you, Batman.
Yeah.
And I think that was such a perfect way of explaining the whole situation.
Yeah. I agree. And I think, again, there is another thing because obviously Joker, it's a fictional character.
Yeah.
And also, he's a villain. So
Yes.
if you
Yeah.
want to be a villain, take the status of a villain, like be aware, like embrace it just as Joker did. And then just be like, oh, look, from time to time, I'm doing this. It's like Pablo Escobar. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, we will remember him as a notorious drug dealer who, like, again, didn't scare this country. But anyway, we know he was a notorious drug dealer, right? Who made like so much money. There are people in South America who are celebrating him to this date because of like the investment that he made in, houses, apartments, because he would just like buy people stuff, right? Like random people. Okay, but obviously,
Yeah.
no people don't talk as much there about the people who were killed by him and like by the way he was farming his drugs. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, every villain has, but that's why I agree. This is because again, this is my problem with like news in Romania, you know, because we have those people like there is a guy who I absolutely despise, who's like a racist, xenophobe, uh, homophobe, right? And he's always on national TV, uh, because he gives a lot of money to charities and he helps out like poor people. But I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't take like that's not acceptable, you know, because you're not meant to do a lot of bad things and then you do some good things and then it pays off, you know. It's not like that. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, you can do many acts of kindness, but don't pretend that you are this kind, whatever. But I love James, like I said, I love him to bits, and I love like even the thing because that's why I don't like Rowan Atkinson at all. No, I despise Rowan Atkinson. Even though I
Thank
grew
you.
up with like that's okay. Even though I grew up with Mr. Bean being like a national hero, I think he is again Mr. Bean funny. Rowan Atkinson, asshole, prick. Don't like him. Never will.
I'm loving this episode more and more as we get into it because first it started with you saying you liked Adam Sandler, and now you're saying you don't like Rowan Atkinson. And honestly, I really respect it.
Thank you.
Um, I share birthdays with Rowan Atkinson,
Oh
and
God.
I told someone that as
Uh,
like a haha, imagine that. And she went, well, you should tell more people that. That's a really cool fact. I love Rowan Atkinson. You should tell. No,
no. Yeah.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing to share your birthday with Rowan Atkinson.
I mean, look, the thing is, again, it doesn't mean anything really, besides of again just the fact that because to me, I used to love a basketballer called Tony Parker, which I
Yeah,
still love because we share the same birthday. But that guy has been, and again, there's no problem with being married, but he's been married for 5 times, cheating on some of his wives. Apparently, he's a questionable like as a person, as an individual. But you see, I did love him as a kid because as a kid I was, oh my God, he's a basketball. He's a you know he won a ring, you know, with Spurs, which is my favorite team in the West. Anyway, I was like, he's so cool. And then I learned this stuff, and I was like, okay, look, I don't say he's not. I still respect him as an athlete. He's again, even as a human being, he's not a horrible person. It's just the fact that some things that he did are in, fairly questionable. But yeah, with Ron Atkinson, I don't appreciate it, especially because I was actually, I'd say, watch if you haven't already the Mark Maron interview with James Acaster.
I haven't seen it. No, I don't think so.
It's on WTF, so it's on Mark Maron's podcast, and Mark Maron talks about how he can't because I love Mark Maron probably is like my model in stand up comedy because I love like the way he portrays his misery, which is similar to what I do. Or at least I got like I feel like he's been an inspiration to me, you know, because I was like, it's okay to be miserable, it's okay to hate yourself, it's okay to do all these things as long as you know. Because I was like, look, I make people laugh, good, you know, it's worth it. But anyway, yeah, he had the interview with James Acaster, and I was like, wow. And even you know the Ronnie Chang special where he talks
I
about
think so,
James
yeah.
Acaster, yeah, yeah, it's even like, you know, what broke my heart at the time even more was that like he was aware that she was James Acaster's partner,
Yeah.
and he was aware of where James Acaster is on a comedy level. So it was kind of like, oh, do you want an upgrade? You know, because it's look, I'm not saying people can cheat. You know, if you're not happy with someone, you know, it's again because I know people are terrified of breaking off. They'd rather just try to live, but I don't know. Like that's thing. It's a case by case situation, and in this situation, even though I don't know her side of the story, but from because I'm not questioning her as a person, I'm only
Okay.
questioning Rowan Atkinson. I'm really, yeah, I'm just questioning Rowan Atkinson because it's like, okay, so they were in a happy relationship. They were going well, and then this guy comes on and is like, oh, do you want to see how much better I am than James Acaster? Then what did he leave? Yeah, no, absolutely not.
I don't like him. But like I don't like there's other reasons than just that. Um when Rowan Atkinson is agreeing with Boris Johnson, that's where
Wait, what?
uh, Yeah. Do you
Oh,
not know about this?
no, I had no idea.
So I can't remember. It was James Acaster that mentioned it. He mentioned it on Cold Lasagna. Um,
Right.
so Boris Johnson made the whole comment about burqas and stuff.
Oh my, over. Yeah, yeah. Rowan Atkinson defends Boris Johnson over
Yeah,
burqa joke. What?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is
yeah.
mental.
So it's not just that reason. I have so many reasons for not liking like Rowan Atkinson. Do not like.
Oh my
I don't like. I
God.
really don't like him. And like you
All
can just
jokes
tell
about
that James acts like he's happy and it's funny, but inside you can tell he was extremely hurt.
Jesus Christ. No, yeah, I have a lot of time. Even though, again, with James Acaster, it took me a while to, because again, I always, re, I'm not like, oh wow, he's one of my favorite comedians. Because, but I also think he's an incredible comedian because he's so different from what like your standard, or at least like to me, like my standard stand up. Because to me, growing up in Romania and then moving here, like to me, all my influences or most of them are Americans, right?
Okay.
Like I think British probably I only have Daniel Schloss, which I love very much. I again James Agaster is a good influence, but then besides of that, I think I mean I like Peter Kay, but not because of I've never seen Peter Kay stand up. Not gonna lie, maybe only like short clips. But I love Phoenix Nights. Like I love the other things that he did, right? So that's how I got introduced to British humor, and I love like People Just Do Nothing, right? It's one of my
I
favorite.
love that show so much. I love that
Yeah,
show so much.
you see, so that was my introduction to like British comedy, and then I remember watching some like a very old TV show. But anyway, and all groups like Jimmy Carr, right? Um, but then everything else is American. You know, like I got like Wanda Sykes. You get like even more of a again like woman in comedy, which I like because those were the ones I had the quickest access to, growing up, or even in general, really. So that's what I'm saying. To me, it's a bit bizarre. But then every time when I watched James Agassi for the first time, I was like, oh my god, what's happening? About maybe 6 7 years ago. But then now, the more I watch it again, it's not like it's just wow. It's just so different. He's just
Yeah.
incredible, and even yeah, I agree with you. Like when he did us this thing about like you see that he's hurt, it's rightfully so, rightfully so. But I think he's doing so well, and I think when I watch because it's funny because Mark Maron tells James Acaster about how he was annoyed with James Acaster at the beginning because he was like, bro, who who do you think you are releasing 4 comedy specials in one go? Like seriously, he's like, who do you think you are? And then it was funny for James, like I said, to just like be there and be like, yeah, okay, I get you, fine. And then yeah, because Mark Maron was like, oh yeah, I was like in a hotel room and I was like, oh, let me see this fucking guy. Fucking hate this guy already. And he would like watch 20, 30 minutes and then he didn't watch it for years. It's like it's good, but I got things to do. And then he watched it. It's like, oh, then I started hearing your name more and more, and I was like, oh my god, this guy is doing well. And yeah, I just find it very, very funny. And it's very interesting because I overheard stories about like him bombing at the beginning because obviously he will do like these like abstract jokes and like people wouldn't understand what he's saying. And you see, this is the kind of cool thing which I like as well, where sometimes you just gotta stick with yourself. Obviously, sometimes it doesn't work and it's
Yeah.
horrible. But sometimes you just gotta trust it. It's if it's a part of something bigger, you just gotta go for those bumps and until people will actually understand who you are and what you say and they will get in on your side, and I feel like that's what he did. Yeah.
Um, we've talked a lot about comedians that you like. Do you have a dream tour partner? Like either you support them on tour or like you were to do like a double act type thing with them?
Well, I'm just gonna plug this next year, and we are doing it even more and more. Me, Sami Anibaba, and Faizan, um sorry, Sam Ainde. um we are doing a 1 hour show, like a compilation show called British.
Okay.
So obviously they are my favorite people to be on tour with. But if say the following would be available, I'll definitely have them on. Would be Pete Davidson, Wanda Sykes, John Mulaney, Bill Burr, and obviously if he was to be alive, Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that would be my top five people to take. Trevor Noah as well. Yeah,
It was quite upsetting because John Mulaney, I can't even say his name. John Mulaney. No, okay.
Mulaney. That's fine. John
Do you see
Mulaney.
what I
Yeah.
mean with the names at the start? Um, Basically, he was literally at the town that I live, like literally a walk away from where I am. At the same time, I was on a holiday in Wales, so I
How?
couldn't go. That's so upsetting.
Oh God. I mean, he's back in UK in January,
Yeah,
but I don't know if there are tickets left because it's either Belfast or Dublin, and I can't do either. I could perhaps do Belfast, but anyway, yeah, no, it's a shame. I mean, that's what happened to me like Mark Maron, because I just moved to London when I found out that he would be here, and then by the time I looked into tickets, I couldn't find anything, and even
yeah,
like resellers, they were twice the price. It was like 90 or £100. I was like, I'm not paying. Like with as much as I love it's the what's it called? Like it's the principle that I'm not paying for.
yeah,
It's the same like with people who try to like now sell Pit K tickets, and they charge like £100 for a ticket that costs £30. I'm like, no, absolutely not. I do not appreciate that.
yeah. Um, I was gonna go see. Do you know the band Blur?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was planning on going to see them. I had like it was before the tickets were released. I was like, I really want to go see Blur, and like everything matched. Like the dates were okay, and then I looked at it,
yeah.
and the tickets were like £200 per person, and I was like, yeah,
For
I'd
Blur,
rather. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean, they've not. Did they release anything new in the past decade?
yeah. No, they haven't. They're doing like a
What is
reunion
going
tour
on?
for like
Right.
£200 per ticket.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. I think I went to Placebo the other week.
They're a good band. Yeah, yeah,
£55, and that was the most expensive ticket, and it was a reseller as well.
yeah,
So he went from 40 to 55, which is fine. I'll allow it. I'll accept that. But and to be fair, actually, this is I mean, not a fun fact, but Brian, he's got, I think he's got like an infection, a chest infection.
yeah. Okay,
Anyway, one of the main singers, so they had to cancel the rest of the tour dates for this year.
that's
And
okay.
I was saying, which is it's very again, it's a very dark, bad joke, but if he was to die from the chest infection, I've been to the last gig Placebo did together. How cool is that?
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Again, very
Um,
unsettling, but yeah, no,
yeah.
I'm gonna enjoy that.
We were talking about bad gigs earlier and like how you can like make a joke out of a bad gig. But what is the worst gig that you've ever done?
Oof, God, the worst. And I'm trying to think about. Uh, I d- I wouldn't. I don't know because I've never had the worst. I had really bad gigs
Mhm.
or gigs where I went to and it was just. I think like once I went to Liverpool in meant to do a gig, got cancelled. Like
Okay.
as I was already there,
Okay.
so I had to leave work, get the train to Liverpool. It was such a long day. Get in
Yeah.
Liverpool, gig gets cancelled. I'm like, oh God, okay, cool. I'm gonna go and do another gig. Trying to like an open mic. Open mic was. It took me ages to get on stage. I almost missed my train back to Manchester. So again, still good gig. I really, again, good experience. But that was probably that was scary. Like I remember being on a train back to from Liverpool to Manchester around like 11:30. Anyway, it was like probably the last or the second to last train to leave for the night, right? And I was like this close to miss it, and then even if I when I were to get in Manchester, then I had to take a tram home. Oh God, and that was probably like the experience. I was like, why am I doing? Like, why did I put myself in this position?
Yeah.
But besides of that, I think I had I don't say horrible, I had very funny gigs. Like I had a gig where we went as a big surprise it was a corporate gig for a casino, like a staff party. And a good friend of mine basically gave me that gig because he knew the manager of the casino. Something. Anyway, but the staff didn't know it's going to be stand-up comedy, right? They're like, "Oh yeah, we got a big surprise for you." And then there were like three comedians that they've never heard of in their whole lives, just like doing comedy right before they were meant to have like their bonus announcements and all that. So everyone was like, "Just fucking get on with it. We want to get like we want to know how much we got as a bonus. Leave now." Kind of thing, right? So it was just weird. And I remember I was only like 4 or 5 months in. It was actually,
Yeah.
because coming back to what you were saying, that was probably one of my very first. I think it was 10 or 15 minute sets. That was one of the very first I've ever done. And imagine, like, just walk. It was just hilarious. Even I remember after we went on stage, we still stick around for the staff party because we got like free drinks. We got like an open buffet. It was really nice. But I just remember, yeah, the people, like even some of the people who were in the crowd, say like the audience, they came after like, "Oh no, that was actually really good." And I was like, "Well, why did you laugh if it was really good?" And I was like, "Oh no, because we were just like waiting." So that was a weird gig. And then I think that's it. I mean, yeah, because other stuff, sometimes you spend time traveling, you're going down or up to a gig, and then when you go on stage, you're like, "Oh, there's only two people here," or there's no audience, and you kind of like travel a lot to get there. I think
Yeah.
once I double booked by accident for two open mic nights, and one of the MCs of the open mic that I double booked by accident got really upset.
Oh gosh.
And yeah, the message that I got from them was like, "Oh, so you're adding to my workload." Da, 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 da. And I was like, with all due respect, but a 5 minute open mic set in central London, it's not like if someone was to advertise it in probably 5 minutes, it would be gone.
Yeah.
So as much as I appreciate that I messed up, I didn't enjoy the bollocking that I got for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But besides of that, again, yeah, no. Otherwise, I wouldn't say I had horrible gigs. I just had interesting experiences.
Okay. How would you like deal with your pre-gig nerves and stuff, like before going on stage?
I, I, I there is no way that I can. It's not like I don't have a ritual or something. It's just the fact that I'm always I am nervous before I go on stage, especially if it's a new if it's a gig that I've never done before, if it's either a paid spot or if it's something that would lead to pay work, then I I do feel incredibly nervous before I hit the stage.
Okay.
But then as soon as I kind of like I said hello into the mic, everything changes. Just because that's when sometimes obviously it changes for good, sometimes for worse. Because sometimes I think, well, it's too late to back off now. Like, you just gotta like power through. So obviously sometimes because I might be a little bit too nervous, I might not be as good as like showing my emotions on stage. I might, be a bit like fiddly and stuff. Uh, but most of the times it actually works out well because I'm either like I'm very laid back and very chill, or I'm very energetic, but like not the right energy because I'll be very angry in on the microphone. But it works well for me, like it helps me
Yeah.
out with my act. So yeah, those are the two things that can happen.
Um, Apart from that, on the other side, do you have like a best moment of your career, or do you have like the best gig that you've ever done?
Oh, actually, okay, cool. Again, adding to the worst gig. I just
Okay,
realized I went on national television in Romania,
okay,
and it was
that's
the first
impressive.
time well, it was first time on national TV. It didn't do well, but I was so nervous because it was the first time. Because you get to see open mics with like a lot of people in or no people in, but then obviously when you see basically when you go to one of those things, they it's all controlled, right? So basically like they clap on when they have to. And I was like, oh my God, this is bizarre. Because like, you know, regardless of how well you're doing
Yeah,
comedy in front of like almost, I think it was like almost 100 people. Because it was like 70, 80 members of the audience. But nobody would laugh, or like nobody would have like, even the ones that would laugh would be very little, and they would be very quiet because they can't again, because it's all like done on like clap, laugh, whatever, right? It messed up with my head so bad. But you see, this is the thing. That was one of the worst and the best experiences. Because in the other hand, it was the first time I've ever been on anything to do with like TV. Besides like being a child, because I used to do some things as a child. But yeah, every time being on TV and every time like that was an awesome experience. It was sick. Like if you ever have the opportunity, I'd say do it regardless of what's happening, just because it was just getting there, and like you had like someone like giving me a shave to make sure like kind of like, because I have like this like 5 o'clock thing, yeah. Then you have like makeup on, just to, like, look, it's going through that whole thing. It was awesome. So as much as like it terrified me, and as much as like I didn't do the way I wanted to, but it was also one of the best ones. And then probably another best one was, I think, yeah, the first or the first preview of our compilation show for next year. Did that in Manchester after I had to like, I missed my train. It was a disaster getting there, but then I got there and then I did it and I had so much fun. I loved it so much. And probably it was a highlight because again, it was something that like I feel it's going further. It's not just like Levy. It's my work that I want to develop from 20 to 30 to an hour, and then or 45 minutes, and then just make it like all about me. But it's a part of a cool project with two other people that I love dearly, and I'm very close to, and I respect comedy career wise. Um, and then I think when I did Frog and Bucket, and I got like I won the Beat the Frog on a Monday, and
that's so cool.
it was sick. It was good. Yeah, I didn't get through the finals, but I had a good time. Just kind of because I find, I mean, obviously like, with gong shows, it's a bit hard because my jokes sometimes are a bit, again. Anyway, it was nice. It was a nice feeling. I remember just like getting out. Oh my God, this is so cool! Like my heart, was like pounding, and I think this is the kind of moments that I remember in comedy. But it's also the things that happen before or after the gigs that I'm a big like are nice memories. Like traveling to gigs with other comedians, going out after the gig for drinks, uh, just like hanging out with comedians for lunch, just meeting up and having a good time. Like those connections to me are really, I'm very fond of as well.
That's quite sweet, actually. I wish I had the confidence to do Beat the Frog. So the fact that you did that was impressive.
I think I mean, everyone has different paces. That's the thing. You gotta, and I like to be aware of, because again, it goes back to how many other passions you have, whatever. But everyone has a different pace, like you can get people who enjoy that, even now, like I know people that started maybe comedy, even though I only been here for about a year and a bit, but people who started after I did, and they are on way more shows than I do, or less, or they are on less shows but they get more paid work, or they are on less shows and they already do other things. It's it's fine, because if you'll if you are the kind of person who wants to, compare with others, going like, I don't know, maybe say there is someone else who started comedy in the exact same day that you started, in the exact same amount of gigs, and they chose to go to Frog and Bucket before you did, and then now, you can't be bitter over it, at least in my head, because it's still, it's not the same. If it feels right for you, it does. And even if you fail, so what? You try again. It's not like, you know, look, even at your top comedians, how many of them actually know? Maybe all of them won gong shows. Maybe none of them won gong shows. But in the end of the day, that's not what took them as far as they got. What took them is their own grind. And again, it's not because it's not like one glove fits all.
What year did you start your comedy?
Last 2021 in October.
Okay. Where did you do your first show? Do you remember it?
Yeah, I did it at Talleyrand, which was like a
Okay.
poetry night. Now it's run by basically back in the day it used to be run about by a guy called George, which I knew through a friend. I didn't know him from comedy because I didn't have social media. I hate social media. But it kind of I had to get it. But anyway, yeah, at the time the way I did the first one is because I knew someone who knew George, and then told George that I'm trying to like I'm an aspiring stand-up comedian who yet did zero gigs, but he was like, okay, fine, just let him come over. That's what I was saying. That was a poetry night, right? Which went really well. But then I did another poetry night after, which was one of the worst gigs I've done. But again, it was fun. So yeah, that was the first, and then the second was the stage and radio. Um,
Yeah, that's where
Jordan
my first gig
Duchamp.
was. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No way.
That's where my first gig was. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Jordan is a cool guy as well. It's a nice. I did his podcast as well, and it's
Okay.
just a nice. Yeah, I like him. I like him a lot.
You mentioned that you hate social media, which is honestly fair enough. Social media can be awful. It literally can be the worst thing in the world. I find myself comparing myself to like my friends who started around a similar time as me in the same way as I did, who are like they're known and they started in the exact same way I did, started around the same time I did, and I like compare myself to them so much. So like social media can be quite like heartbreaking at times. Don't get me wrong, I'm so proud of my friend. At the same time, it's like I feel upset because why aren't I there? But then again, everyone's story is different.
Yeah, and I think with the social media, it's because again, everything has good and bad sides. Because I'm not the kind of person who says, "Oh yeah, all social media is bad. You shouldn't do this anymore." No, because obviously, if we wouldn't have the access to the things that we do, we wouldn't know. Look, for example, we wouldn't know about like the horrible things that happen to people in Iran. We wouldn't know about the reality of what's happening in Ukraine. We wouldn't even know about the horrible things that happen. Like, look, for example, there was that I remember it was like a TikTok that went viral with this woman being like racist to a bouncer, and now she lost her job, and basically people. And look again, like how many people actually got to be kind of either celebrated for being awesome people, or people who actually got convicted, or people who have got some sort of like canceled, or some sort of basically put in a shadow, and that is thanks to social media.
There is a thing that I'm part of, and it's like you set yourself like very small goals and you've got like 10 years to complete them.
Yeah,
And if you don't complete them, then it's fine. Like no one like judges you because it's like a group chat type thing. No one judges you for not completing them. No one judges you for wanting to change your goal in the 10 years. And it's like it's really supportive. Um and like a lot of them are like, I want to start stand up. So like everyone's there like talking about their lives and how their stand up's going. And it's nice to hear the different stories.
yeah,
Um But like as you mentioned, it's not one story for everyone. It's not the same for everyone. There
exactly.
is different stories. And even through this podcast, like doing this podcast, I've listened to so many people talk about like their stories doing stand-up, and it's so powerful to hear it because it's like when I started out, I wanted to like have my break by the end of like by the time I was like 19, I wanted everyone to know me, which I just think
Yeah.
was unrealistic, so unrealistic. Um, and looking back on it, I wish I didn't do that to myself. I wish I actually just like listened to other people and like know the full story.
No, but you know what? I get you. The thrill, it's awesome because I remember after I did my first gig or after my second, or after I did like even any good gig, I'm like, oh my God, this is it. That's it. People will just like high five me on the street starting tomorrow. So it's fine to have that, but I think yeah, it's and again, it comes from someone that I I talk down on myself many times. I'm very like unhappy as with myself, right? And so coming from me makes him stronger. I think it makes him stronger again talking, but you just gotta remind yourself sometimes that yeah, it's fine. You know, it's just the way it is. You know, I to be fair, actually, I didn't even know about this like sort of groups, but I actually do. Like my goal is in 10 years to be some to basically to be able to make a living out of comedy.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It's like definitely doable.
Yeah,
Like
so
if
I
you
got
work and you
another.
grind it, you'll be able to do it.
So yeah, there you go. I got 9 years and 10 months of work. No, I'm joking, but it might be longer. But you never know. You know, as long again, you got to keep it fun. As long as you enjoy it, as long as you don't feel it's not. It has to be enjoyable because again, it's such a hard thing to do. Like you said, just starting it, it's you're already into a very small percentage of the population that actually had the the courage and had the willpower to do it. So you're already on a very select group of people. And now
Yeah.
how far you get it, it's only getting better. But even sometimes I think even if I don't enjoy it tomorrow and I'm like, no, I'm done with this, I'm out. I still did it. Like whatever I've done, it's still there. And I can still use like some skills that I've learned from comedy, I can use into any other things I want to do in life.
I was literally writing my CV before I like updating my CV before we did this podcast. And it was
Yeah,
so weird putting on my skills like organization, but like being like, I have a podcast, which is literally just ran by me. I'm the only one that's like behind this podcast.
yeah.
And like having to like message loads of people to see if they'll go on and like it was there's a lot of things you learn from like even stand up, there's a lot of things you learn and you can use them like every day.
Exactly. Yeah. It's I've been told that apparently I do, and again because of the nature of my humor, I've been told that I'm very good at dealing with like silence or just to like I'm okay with build-ups. This is, you know, again, it's a good skill to have. You know, you I find it hilarious sometimes. Like I take a taxi and the taxi driver would like try and speak to me because the idea of quiet it creates a massive discomfort. I don't know. It's like a no, it's a psychological thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But to me, I don't really care. Like we could generally spend 10 minutes here, just not saying anything, and I would be very comfortable.
Fair enough. I hate silence so much. Like I can't do it. Even when it's literally just me in the room, I can't. Like I like writing and stuff. Like I'm writing a story and stuff like that. But I can't do it in silence. Like I always have to have something in the back because I cannot deal with silence because weirdly it doesn't make me concentrate. It goes against my concentration.
No, I get you. I get you. I know. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Uh, yeah. But like
I
I
need
don't know if that's
sometimes
like a
background noise
generation.
as well. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. I don't know if that's like a generation thing because I've always kind of had noise type of thing. Like I grew up with
Ah, I
like
get you.
TV in the
Yeah,
background and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So I don't know if it's a generation thing.
I I don't know, to be fair, because I mean, because I'm 25, so it's kind of similar. Like, yeah, I always had something in the room, but I think no. Apparently, it's because especially having like with myself, like having a history of like anxiety, depression, etc. Etc. As if like I'm gonna no, it's just anxiety, depression, and others. Um, you because actually your mind get like my mind gets to like do a lot of things. Even like my attention span being very little. Like, however, the thing is, if you so for example now, if a car comes around the street, I don't care. But if there's an ambulance, I am going to because I'm not used to that sound. However, it's a known thing that basically if you have like music on, even though sorry that music is in the background, it stops you, it blocks you from focusing on other things.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't disturb you either because it's a constant, you know. However, if you were to say like you're playing something, like you're watching a movie, and then you got in the background, and then there is a scene where like the music goes, "Du-du-du-du," that's when you'll be like, oh, because that it takes away. That's why people, sometimes like listen to podcasts or to classical music while because again, it doesn't it does the change is too little because it's
Yeah.
always the same volume, it's always the same intonations, it's always all like those things are so good that basically again it helps you in the way that it doesn't allow for your brain to focus on other stuff, but then in the other hand the brain kind of doesn't gets used to it and it doesn't focus on it anymore.
Do I think I have one more question and then you are done.
Cool, yeah.
Um,
Oh, it's okay. I'm not. What do you call it? It's funny how you said you're done, as if like I'm here against my own will. No, I'm having a great time.
um, how do you normally write your stand-up?
How do I normally write it? Ooh, it depends because again, because of the way I work, or like because of the way my head works. For example, if I sit here for hours, but I just don't have the motivation, I don't have the will to do it. It doesn't matter how
Yeah.
much I force myself, nothing's gonna come out of it. Like usually, because I remember I used to force myself in the past, and really, what it would be is only journaling, and like a lot of trauma that doesn't make any sense, right? So the way I most of the time do it is that if I have an idea, like again the one that I'm so angry that I forgot earlier. Basically, I write down the gist of it, even though I'm aware that I'm not going to remember it in the same way in the future. But I try to write it down as good as possible, so that basically when I then have the time or to sit down or even like before shows, when I go through my notes, I'm like, oh, okay, so I see it, let's try this, and then I evolve on it. Like then that's when I structure it. I'm like, oh, is this the actual story, is this the part of the build up, or is this the punchline, and then I have to make the build up, or I have to make the story. So that's
Yeah.
how I usually write. It's not, yeah, it's I write the whatever comes in the head, and then I go back to it. Or again, sometimes I can write the whole thing, but then sometimes, usually, it just like if I show you my phone and my notebook, because I like to do both of them, by the way. You'll see like I have like this much text, and
Yeah.
that can be 5 minutes, 1 minute, or it can be nothing. But yeah,
Um, I tend to like write on my notes app on my phone and then I will like move that into like print it out and then highlight the different bits and see if they work together. And that's how I came up with my 10 minutes that I'm going to be doing tonight. And that's stressful in itself, really. Um, but I know what I'm doing. It's more when you're kind of thinking about something and then you actually get on stage and you're fine. It's
yeah,
more the thought beforehand that's stressing me out. I know as soon as I got on stage and as soon as I got the microphone, I'll be absolutely fine.
yeah. And I think someone gave me this advice, and he's one of my favorite comedians. It's probably yeah, very very little on the social life aspect, so he grinds a lot in the comedy circuit. I don't know if you ever heard about it, if you ever come across. It's Ashish Suri. He
Yeah,
is
yeah.
He is awesome. He is. Actually, I think he might have been because I think he was the guy, the person at the gig with the James Acaster.
Okay. Yeah.
I think so because again, I remember seeing James Acaster. I remember seeing someone else that I know on the poster. So I think it might have been anyway. So coming back to this, um, yeah, he gave me this advice, like not to, and I started doing it. I don't take notes on stage, like unless when I did the 20 minutes, I took my notebook, but I had it on the side, and I kind of like glimpse into it, right? But beside of that, if I do like a 5 or a 10, I don't write it down because, and it's also, I'm a control freak by the way I was kind of like grew up and I was raised. So now I'm more comfortable with, like, for example, this morning I was meant to go to the gym, but because I still have this like horrible cold and my nose is so stuck, I didn't, right? But then I was meant to go do some other bits now before like the next meeting, but I'm not going to do it anymore. So I try to allow myself more wiggle room. But then I realized when I started comedy, the problem came back again with the control freakness, because
Yeah.
I'd be like, I gotta sit in a certain way, I gotta do this, I have my jokes written, whatever. But the problem is, what if that I'm sweating and I can't write, I can't read it. You see, it adds up to me, and it goes from it's okay to panic, 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 not going to plan, it's not going to. So that's why, again, I think this is what helped me with the silence as well, because sometimes if I'm working on new stuff and I'm like, that I thought that would be a punchline and then nobody's laughing. Obviously, if my brain is that's a punchline, now they have to laugh. And if they don't laugh, I would go panic because I didn't expect for that. So yeah, I would say this is like yeah, I don't take my notes anytime I go on stage. Sometimes I forget the stuff and it's a shame. I hate it, but usually it helps out better because again, even if you have to take, it's actually, what, it works out. The pauses. One of the things that I found, the pauses that you take on stage are so important because it makes the laugh so much bigger, so much nicer. So even if you have to take your time and think about the next joke, I loved it, because I'll stay there and I'll just let, even if there is one single person laughing, unless I already got the next thing in my head, I'll let them finish. Because again, it doesn't look like, yeah, I'm thinking. It looks like I'm allowing for that person to, you know, finish enjoying their moment.
Yeah. That is the podcast.
Sick. I had
You've
a
done
great
it.
time.
Thank you for being here.
No, thank you so much for having me. So I'll have a look into the book,
Yeah,
and I've
yeah.
also got James and the
And the show.
it's here. It's and the shame. Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
it right on my mark. Let me know, and then actually, let me know how tonight goes. It was really lovely chatting to you. Lovely to meet you as well in a
Lovely to meet you.
virtual way.
Thank you. Gonna go watch
Right.
Criminal Minds. Bye.
Okay. Look after yourself. Take care, and lovely to meet you again. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.